Deconstruct information from a technical perspective to a non-technical end-user perspective. Okay, what does it mean? Well, there is a lot of points that we need to know about the end user because sometimes we are so technical and we obviously, because we learn for many years about our career, obviously there is a lot of concepts that the user doesn't know, and you need to focus on them and try to explain them. For example, with apples, you don't want to tell them like, okay, this code is wrong because um, the loop ends many times in the module held from the function x. So if the user listen to you, he will be lost. So there is some tips that we can use to try to explain that the user, and he can be he will be thankful. For example, the first one is get some humility. It's very important that we know that you are focused on your career and you are very technical, but you all remember that if you are, for example, in another area like accounting or airspace careers or electrical engineers, obviously all the topics that if you are in that kind of class, obviously you will get lost. So please try to always be on the shoes of the person, of the customer, so you so so in that way you will understand them. The second is tell about people and actions, no system and code. So for example, sometimes it's better have some images or words that the user will understand. For example, you can put the user that, for example, if the don't try to tell no, the system will crash the first model. He won't understand. So try to put something like, oh, okay, if you kick the ball, you can get a score, something like this. Okay. So try always use images in order that the user can understand what are you talking about. The third one is learn about your customer world. For example, sometimes, for example, it's very good that you can, if you are in a chemical department, it's better that you can meet some kind of concepts that the user, for example, have like a, I don't know, maybe the periodical table. You can just know that, for example, the H, it's hydrogen, and H2O is equal to water. So if you try to understand where the user is, what kind of word the user have, uh, in the future maybe you can have some kind of technical things from the users. And guess what? Actually, there is another point that is translate and educate. If you have a translation, for example, if you know where the user is talking about, in the future the user want to translate what you're talking about, so he will say, well, he's learning about my apartment. Okay, I will try to understand their concepts too. And use a creative communication tools. So, well, in this case, it's like it's not easy like just to talk with the people, for example, in secret. So try to use good tools in order that all the users can understand. Um, Create a project site. It's something like, well, it's better to use, for example, create a kind of dictionary or glossary in order that there is some kind of technical words that you don't know how you can explain them. So you can put a glossary on the guide, and the user will be very thankful that they say, well, the developer doesn't know how to explain this kind of concept, so the user can just look at them. And finally, get some training. Yeah, it's very important. One of the first things that sometimes software developers doesn't have is passion. So try to be passionate, try to get some training, um, breathe as many times as possible. Imagine that in these images you are building a stone and you're trying to put the small stone up the top. remember that, for example, it's almost impossible to do it fast. If you are doing fast, you will never finish the task. So imagine if you put the stone on the top, uh, that means that the user will understand. So take as many time possible in order that the user can understand what are you talking about.